This is an amazing game. You are going to love it. We've got none other than Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces. And with white, we've got the Grandmaster from Azerbaijan, Baku, Mamedyarov Shakhriyar. And it's fascinating because it deals with the wing gambit. Well, with the variation of the wing gambit, white plays e4, c5 black, and then we go with a3 Mengarini, a variation of the wing gambit. So I think it's very instructive, useful for those of you that play this with white. So e4, again, Mamedyarov white, Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces. Played in 2021. I picked it up from the Lee Chess archive. You can find it yourselves. Not a problem. So c5 and a3. Of course, b4 is the wing gambit, but we're going to look at a3, which is a little bit of preparation of the b4 being pushed afterwards. Not a problem with black playing something like knight c6, which you're going to go with b4 anyway. We're not looking at that particular variation with pawn takes and pawn takes, knight takes, c3, d4. We're not looking at that one. What I want to subject to your attention, guys, is another sub-variation of this fascinating way to play is the g6, which Magnus did choose to play. And obviously g6 allows bishop g7, right? So that's the stuff we're going to look at. But this game in particular retained my attention, not just because I'm playing this with white, but because this variation considered one of those very dangerous for white after bishop to g7. How exactly you're supposed to play against this line with the g6? And of course, there's nothing wrong with doing knight f3. This is a top move, this one. There's nothing wrong to doing that. But Mamedyarov goes differently. He goes with h4. Keep this in mind because this is getting really sharp now. Really, really fascinating, tactical, and sharp. h4, which actually dreams about going h5 and dismantling those pawns, specifically if black wants to do castle short. So h4 wants to go forwards and forwards. Amazing stuff. Just hold your horses. You're going to love it. So, knight to f6. Again, nothing wrong with knight f6. And Mamedyarov suggests to play now. Well, I shouldn't say suggest. He actually did play. Very aggressive and beautiful e5. Attacks the black knight. Now, you better move that guy away. And you can't go g4 because it's going to be captured straight away, as you can see here. So you can't go g4. So one of the moves, and of course, people don't want to get back on g8 because it's a bit painful for a human. Although it's playable, not a problem. But the best move here, and very many humans will do, knight to h5, and not just humans. I'm talking about AI too. So knight h5 now being developed on the rim a little bit. Now we continuing with bishop to e2. Mamedyarov plays white here. Bishop e2, battery. And you understand, guys, the purpose is to grab that knight, they take, I take. Queen is present on the king side and very aggressive here. Beautiful for white. Nice presence. So what does black play here? Magnus goes knight f4. Nothing wrong in particular about this one. Now, what is very interesting is that the almighty Stockfish suggests black should just simply go knight c6. That's what the engine says that black should play here. Knight to c6. So after bishop takes, you're going to take back here. Or they suggest knight to c6. And if this thing were to happen here, of course, you take it here. And you're just going to play like this. You're going to play in this fashion. Sure, queen takes on h5. You've got a queen's presence here, but you're going to play knight d4, threatening c2, fork. So that's quite active. The engine loves this for black and considers that actually black is very happy here. So let's just go back because that's not what happened. So that's another thing to keep in mind, guys, just in case you're playing this with black in particular. So it's good to know this, and of course with white and black at the same time. But Magnus goes knight f4. He doesn't want to trade that knight. He doesn't want to have the h file completely given to white. And knight f4, of course, hits the bishop, if you may say, and the g2. But don't be rushed to just take it straight away, because after d3 or d4 being played, don't get too greedy about playing knight to g2. Of course, Magnus never going to do that, because that's just simply a blunder. Black simply loses the black knight. So if you go knight g2, it's game over. It's game over because king f1, and there is no way for the black knight to escape. You can't move that guy anywhere. Game over. So black mustn't take on g2. If you really want, just take on e2, get rid of the bishop if you want to do something about this. And now elegantly, knight g1 to e2 takes back the knight, and beautiful, tactical. It's a pleasure to play this stuff. And how aggressive Mamedyarov plays. Amazing guy. So now c takes d4. Of course, you can take it back with the knight, not a problem. With the queen, okay, but you got to be careful about the bishop g7. That will be x-raying all that on that diagonal. So, but Mamedyarov does not take the black pawn straight away. He goes with h very aggressively. He is persistent in its intent to open up the h file for the white rook, here. So he goes h5. Beautiful. Amazing. Bishop g7 by Magnus. Developing, right? I mean, you got to get that bishop. Why did you play g6 in the first place if not to do the fianchetto? Completed with bishop g7 and f4 played by Mamedyarov here. G takes h5. He didn't want to wait no more. He wanted to take that guy straight away. Knight takes now on d4 and d6, opening up for eventually bishop coming out. So probably he thought about ideas like bishop g4. You know, given a chance, you might be threatening that one as well. Now, Mamedyarov plays beautifully, blocking the bishop from coming out. So he makes it very messy here for black. He pushes the pawn on e6. And that means you've got to be very careful, because if you capture straight away now with the f7, this guy is a complete liability here and will be captured immediately. So you mustn't rushing into grabbing. But instead he went queen to a5, checking the king, guys. Checking the white king. So you need to reply to the threat first. And nicely, nice e3, blocking check coming from the black queen. No more check. So now black has a choice what to do. So takes on e6, not with the pawn. He takes with the bishop. So bishop takes e6, rook takes h5. Beautifully, rook grabs the guy, hits the queen. The queen defends the rook. What did it say? Rook attacks the black queen. So you have to move the queen. Queen goes to safety. Queen b6 not just went to safety, but also queen and the bishop attack d4 twice, and a bit of pressure on the b2, as if they were intended to do some discouraging white to moving the bishop. But it's not that much the case, because b2 is a very poisonous pawn. So queen b6, we said, double attack on d4 and a bit of threat on b2. But after bishop e3, again, black has to be very careful. You do not take on b2. You probably see the guys. That would be a blunder, punishable immediately with knight a4. And now the queen is in deep trouble. I'm not sure what you're going to do. I mean, you could just resign, so to speak. So, totally. Black is in losing here, so you're not going to do it. So let me just moving back. So b2 is not to be taken by black here. So Magnus played knight c6. Important, never lose sight of developing ideas. Get all your guys, all the knights and the bishops off the back rank. You don't want to keep them idle. And tactically hitting aggressively, queen being attacked again, rook b5. You got to move that queen. And that's such a nice thing to do. Rook h5, rook lift, then rook over to the b file, hitting the queen, attacking b7. Amazing stuff. Queen to c7 now. Goes to safety. Knight takes on e6, doubling the pawns on the e file. But before taking, which by the way, it's not the best stuff to do, Magnus goes with a move with tempo. Of course, knight not just takes, there is the pressure on the queen, and you can't just ignore that. But there is a move with tempo, a forcing move black can play. Bishop takes c3 first, checking the king. So you must take back. And now you do capture the knight. You have to. Queen to h5 now. Beautifully checking the black king, which has to move. You can't block with anything. King goes very good on d7. Nice and safe. A little bit of a little fortress there. But they can be easily dismantled, those pawns, as we will see, my dear friends, with the beautiful move f5. And of course, if black takes here, they're going to have a big problem. because queen takes back would check, so not really doable. So he plays a bit of a defensive idea with knight on the back rank. It's got to be a little bit painful for black to do this. So knight to d8, interrupting the two rooks, the connection in between the two black rooks, just with the purely defensive idea that if they were to take, probably you take back with a knight. And maybe you want to develop via the other square if there is any rook to coming at some point. Anyway, a bit painful, not very comfortable getting the black knight on the back rank, I must say. I don't know if you guys like it. You could tell me in your own comments if you appreciate this or not. Castle long. So the white rook, the idle white rook on a1 now gets more active. Pressurizing got the d file. That's where the king is. So there is all sorts of tactics that are possible. Rook now goes to f8, exactly as we said. It might allow the black knight in the future to relaunching via the f, and maybe on e5, which would be an ideal outpost for the black knight. Knight f7, knight e5 would be quite nice and ideal. If I'm repeating. You got to get your guys adjusting their position if they're not happy where they are. So rook now with a beautiful, beautiful tactic, and this is the key moment of the game, I would say, because currently now it's pretty much balanced. Rook to c5, and this is the moment, the very critical moment where Magnus miscalculated. And you see, the best stuff to do is queen b6 here. You mustn't touch the rook because it's pinned. It's pinned. The pawn that defends the rook is pinned by the white rook on d1. And there is a subtlety here. Queen takes c5 is definitely a blunder. White mustn't take the queen now with the bishop. So let me say it again. You mustn't take the queen now. So Magnus miscalculated here. You've got to play an in-between move before you capture. Because if you capture straight away, if bishop takes straight away, actually the game is going to be even with rook takes f5, hitting the queen and hitting the bishop. Now, assumingly you want to save the white queen, right? So you're going to go, I don't know, where do you want to go with the queen? h7. I'm just giving an example. And now rook's going to take on c5. And now if you're telling me, yeah, but I'm going to pin the black knight. Well, you pin it for now, but then it's going to be a battery of the black rooks here, aiming on the c file, c3, c2. And knight is free to go again. Knight f7, knight e5 with huge pressure. And the game is actually a bit better for black from a positional, tactical point of view. Better for black. I know from a human point of view might be challenging, but you have the two black rooks and the knight incredibly active and dangerous as soon as they go f7, e5. So, very interesting key moment here. White mustn't take the queen straight away because of the rook f5 we've just seen. What white has to do, the in-between move, the intermezzo, this Zwischenzug, is pawn takes e6 first, not allowing rook f5. So now you do play this move first, in-between move, right? Checking, forcing your opponent to react. Knight, of course, king taking, it's a disaster. You're just exposing. I mean, you're going to get slaughtered very quickly. So he didn't want to expose, so king had to move painfully, and now you're going to take the queen with the bishop. And now Magnus getting simply hammered in this very position. Rook goes on to d7. Now it's going down. There is no good moves for black at this stage. It's a disaster because rook also threatens to play. The queen wants to go to d5. So this move again, it's a complete disaster. So that's not takeable by any, by no means. You're not going to take it. So now takes on e7, defends the e6. Everything is collapsing in Magnus's position here. Obviously, with this material advantage and tactical positional advantage, you want to simplify the game. So there is no meaning now to just overcomplicating things. You want to convert your advantage, your powerful queen, and getting rid of your opponent's active pieces. You diminish the activity and taking, and now already we got a battery here. Oh, we got b7. So now I'm going to continuing for the sake of finalizing the game together, because obviously we can agree that black is a bit toast is gone. It's finished. Following this move, it's finished. And now if you say, yeah, but the king is going to take the rook, yeah, but what's the point? Because then we're going to have queen to d7, forking and capturing. So we're going to continue just for the sake of. And also notice, guys, there is a pawn here that will be promoting sooner or later. There is no chance here for black to do anything. So the game continued for a while because Magnus wants to play every single chance he might be getting. Maybe the other guy makes a blunder or anything, but Mamedyarov, super grandmaster, the Azerbaijani grandmaster, is just simply delivering. And Magnus resigned right at this very moment. King to a2, game over. The pawn will be pushed forward, promoted, and it's just too many forks. Queen is hyperactive here. Black is finished. Beautiful game, Sicilian. Mengarini variation. So guys, keep in mind, for those of you that are practicing with whites and black pieces as well, play like Mamedyarov. Go with h4 very nicely. Forward. Of course, you will expect also to being replied with h5, but that's another branch. It's another sub variation. We could look at those ideas as well if you like this stuff to play. You could play with white, but for those of you that play c5 against white, these things could very well happen. And if it happens at the highest level of chess, you've got a super grandmaster versus probably a legend, the strongest chess player in human history. So if these guys are playing at this super high level, we've got to know of it. Thanks for watching, guys. Share the video with friends and family. Feel free to. And happy to seeing you again in the future. Soren Chess Coach here. See you soon.